Bookmatic lifelong learners, how are you today? So I know it's already halfway through January, but I needed to make this video because I'm going to talk to you about the top 10 books that I read in 2021. And so if you're looking for books to read in 2022, I highly recommend reading at least one of these. I've got a little bit for everyone on here because I have a wide range of tastes in books that I usually read. So yeah, let's get into the video and I'll just talk a little bit about each of the top 10 favorite books that I read in 2021 out of 58 books total. So yeah, there's bound to be something in here for every single person. So let's get into the video, and I hope that you find something that you enjoy and that you'll be able to read in 2022. All right, so these books are in no particular order of favorite books. So the very first one here is Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. And I really loved reading this book because, well, this guy is very, very fascinating. And I believe I made a video about this book or about a couple other books in tandem with this one. So yeah, highly recommend checking this out if you find this period of time an interesting period of time. If you find Leonardo da Vinci an interesting person, because he was not just an artist, but he was also an engineer and kind of scientist. He did a whole lot of things, and curiosity was the thing that drove him in life. And I believe that curiosity really does keep us alive. So I highly recommend checking out Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. And the second book that I have here is Cumulative Advantage by Mark W. Schaefer. And this is kind of a marketing book, kind of a book to help you, generate this cumulative advantage around your product, around yourself, and to basically, get the most out of what you do. Not necessarily get the most out of life, but it's more specifically about marketing. And I felt like the tips in this book were very, very useful. There's a little graphic that can kind of help explain the book. Let me find it real quick. So like this is the thread running throughout the book. If you can see here, you got your initial advantage, you got the seam, the sonic boom, reaching up, and constancy. So each one of these is like a chapter or a part in the book. And then Mark goes ahead and explains like the different parts of the book and how these different phases can help you to just blow through, skyrocket, and reach a bunch of people. It's about reaching people, basically. So yeah, it's definitely a really cool and interesting and unique book. And I always try to mix in a little bit of fiction here and there. I probably read about 4 or 5 fiction books per year. And my favorite fiction book during the year was The Midnight Library by Maig, and it's very philosophical. It's got a whole lot of quotes in there by famous philosophers. But of course, it's a story as well. So the thing that initially attracted me to this book was library. I love books. So I thought, hey, if this book has anything to do with books, then of course I'll probably love it. And so I went in with the mindset, not really knowing what to expect, but I knew that books had to have a theme in this. And they did have a theme, but the books were very magical. It's kind of like a fantasy style book. It's got a lot of life lessons in here. Pretty straightforward, easy to read, and entertaining. And yeah, like I said, it's going to teach you a bit about the meaning of life and how we go about living it. So it's not just fiction, ho hum. You're not really going to get much from it. You're going to learn from this book as well. So very interesting. If you haven't read it, check it out. And book number 4, Parent Like It Matters, How to Raise Joyful Change-Making Girls by Janice Johnson Dias, PhD. So this book is, I usually read a few parenting books per year, and I probably read, I think, maybe 3 last year, I think. And Parent Like It Matters at the top. It's a fantastic parenting book. It's not just about girls, of course, it could be applied to parenting boys as well. But of course, there are a lot of examples about uh, girls and kind of some of the struggles that they go through. And like if you are ethnic, like maybe Asian or Black or white or like whatever race you are, it talks about racism in here as well. So I feel like this is a very powerful book, especially if you have a girl daughter, right? Which, you know, my daughter is 5 years old now. So this book has come in quite handy. And it's one that I will refer to again and again and again, read through some of the stories and the tips that that she has, that Janice has. So yeah, I highly recommend it for any parent out there, especially parents of girls. So check it out. And book number 5 here is Transformation by Robert A. Johnson. It talks about the 3 levels of consciousness. You've got the 2-dimensional person, or it says man in here. You got the 3-dimensional man, and you got the 4-dimensional man. So each level, like 2-dimensional is kind of like someone who just like, you know, sits on their couch after every day of work, watches Netflix and does nothing else, right? Drinking their beer and just like, hey, live life in the moment and not really care about anything else. And then 3-dimensional man is kind of like the person who is on the verge of like getting into consciousness, like they're maybe a little bit aware of themselves, but yet life very, very much frustrates them because they don't know where to put their actions or where, you know, basically how to live their life like an adult, maybe kind of immature, right? And then you got the 4-dimensional man, which is the enlightened person. So once you get to this enlightenment, you cannot turn back. Actually, even when you get to the 3-dimensional man, like you cannot turn back to the 2-dimensional man. It's an interesting book talking about, you know, all the different aspects of our consciousness, and it compares this to Don Quixote, Hamlet, and Faust. So Don Quixote is like the 2-dimensional man, the very basic, simple person. Hamlet is the more complex, kind of not really living life to the fullest and making mistakes, kind of immature. And Faust is the more complex. It's just such a short book and very interesting to read. I highly recommend reading this one just to be more aware of which level you are and maybe even how you can get to that 4-dimensional level. And I cannot talk enough good, positive things about this one. Productivity is for Robots by Corey McComb. How to reconnect, get creative, and stay human in the new world. So basically, it's about like kind of detaching yourself from all the busyness that life has to offer, all the like hustle and grind type of work that a lot of people do that drives them to the ground. Basically, how to find balance in your life. There's a lot of great stories in this book. There have been a lot of books written on this topic. Yet I find this one very unique and very impactful. You will find something new in this book, no matter how many books you've read on the topic of productivity and balance. It's a very enjoyable and educational read, as well as practical as well. If you like Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday, you will also like this one. It's different. It's different. Definitely. I mean, I don't want to recommend books that are all the same mumbo jumbo filled with fluff. It's not filled with fluff and it's not too long either. It's like 215 pages. So it's quite a short read, shorter than a lot of books out there, like Leonardo da Vinci, which is like 550 pages long. So yeah, this is a really cool one. I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're suffering from the hustle and grind type of work and you need to find balance in your life. So check this one out. Next up here, we got Tamed by Gui F.C. Albieri, PhD. Effective self-control strategies to tame your dark horse and keep you focused, motivated, and in control. Tamed is a really cool book. Very, very cool. It's kind of similar to like the laws of human nature, but more with like a practical like habits aspect, like atomic habits. So it's a mix between the two, which is really cool because those two are also some of my favorite books. But yet again, just like Productivity is for Robots, this one is unique and it's got a lot of good stories. It's got a lot of great tips in it. So if you're looking for strategies, it's got a lot of strategies for self-control, to like keep your dark horse basically from controlling you. Because if you let that dark horse run wild, then you're just gonna go crazy out there and you're not going to get anything done. So it's a productivity book, but very philosophical and yeah, practical as well. So check this one out. And I hope you end up actually getting it and reading through it. Next one, How to Take Smart Notes by Sonke Ahrens. One simple technique to boost writing, learning, and thinking for students, academics, and nonfiction book writers. Now, the subtitle here says that it's for students, academics, and nonfiction book writers, but I feel like anyone who reads books, anyone who likes to think, and even anyone who likes to like take action more than anything else can benefit from this book because it teaches you what is called the Zettelkasten method. Basically, when you're reading these books, how to get the most out of how to get the key insights and how to elaborate on those insights. So it's like an idea generating method to where you can turn those ideas into action. That's my own personal interpretation. It talks more specifically about how you can turn those ideas into writing because it is for academics and writers. But if you want more like practical aspects, you can adapt that, change that a little bit and turn those ideas into things that you go out and you experiment with. So either way, whether you're writing or whether you're taking action or whether you're doing both, it's a cool book to help you to really get the most out of what you read. In all, it's about getting the most out of what you read and turning that into action writing. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. So check it out. And the second to last book here, The Heroic and Exceptional Minority by Gregory, Diehl. And the subtitle, which actually kind of interestingly, the subtitle is not on the cover. The subtitle is right here, A Guide to Mythological Self-Awareness and Growth. And so I actually just did a podcast episode with Gregory. It's not quite out yet, but maybe by the time you watch this video on YouTube, it might be out. So it's the Bookmatic Best Books podcast. And I'll definitely include a link down below in the description for this. It's a great book. It's very philosophical. I love philosophy books. It's very reflective. So when you're reading through it, like each chapter is only 2 pages long. And so I recommend when you read it, to really take the time to reflect on each of the pages that Gregory has taken the time to write. Like, it's very deep. It asks you questions that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before, and just goes through 36 two-page chapters of dense material that will really get you thinking about how can you be more heroic to yourself and the world. Maybe it's about the hero's journey as well. Like, what are those problems you are facing in your life right now that will help to push you forward and keep you growing as an individual? What is your purpose in life? What are you reaching towards? How are you growing every single day? Right? This is a great book that I think you should check out. So if it interests you, pick up a copy. And like I said, this is not in any particular order. So this last one that I have here is just as good as any of the other ones. And it's a book about communication. So like I said, there's a little bit of everything for everyone on here. So whatever your interests are, I think these books will help you out. This is People Skills for Analytical Thinkers by Gilbert, Eijkelenboom. And the subtitle is Boost Your Communication, Advance Your Career and Life. So the tips in here are really for people who are analytical. I would even dare to say, like, maybe introverts, people that don't necessarily know how to approach a situation when communicating with other people, which can sometimes be difficult for people who think a lot, who kind of get stuck in their mind. So the strategies in this book will help to untangle the thoughts that you have going on and to be able to communicate with other people in a way that will help that other person to understand, and even sometimes a way that you can convince people to follow along with your own ideas. I love books about communication, about storytelling. So this book is really cool, really good, and it's got some very nice illustrations in here. So let me show you an example of like one of the examples. They're simple illustrations, but they're definitely useful. So yeah, you got output, process, and input. My behavior, my algorithm, and the solution. So it really draws it out clearly in this book about how you can use the tools to communicate a whole lot better. So highly recommend checking that one out as well. All right, so we got all 10 books here. Great books. I really recommend, if any of these catch your interest, then definitely check them out. Get a copy of them and tell me what you think if you do end up picking up a copy of one of these. And of course, I'm not forcing you to buy any of them. I recommend, if it resonates with you, to pick it up, because I guarantee that at least one of them will do something for you. And I do not recommend books that did not make an impact in my life. Like, I'm not going to just recommend some random book. I read 58 books last year. It's a lot. And 10 of them really stood out. So I picked the books that really resonated, the ones that really stood out to me, and the rest, they were impactful, but not as impactful as these 10. So yeah, that's basically how I choose the books that go on my top 10, top 15 lists or whatever. Sometime, actually, each year, my top list varies in number, right? Because I picked the ones that really did make an impact. So one year I could have 20 books on the list, probably not, but you know, it's very well possible, because I will choose books that have really made an impact, and I think will make an impact in your life and help you to live a better and happier and more productive life. So that's it for this top 10 video of 2021. I hope you read these books in 2022 or whenever you're watching this video. And everyone, happy reading. Have a great day. Have a great year. And I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you're subscribed for more great videos like these.